So we said last week we were going to do a top 5. I think we should still do a top 5, but I realized I beat 17 games this year. Yeah. And you beat even more. How many did you beat?
I beat 25.
25 games.
Almost 2 a month.
How?
Out here.
Out here. How did we do it? I'll tell you how. Some of them were like 4 hours long, but that's okay. Yeah. That's neither here nor there.
And some of them are on the Switch. A lot of them are on the Switch.
So I was on the toilet still gaming.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was on the train. Wasted. No time wasted. That's right. I was walking up some stairs. I tripped and I fell. Still beat the game.
Delivering a baby. Still playing.
Could you imagine if I was in the operating room with my Switch?
Yeah. You're doing great, honey.
Yeah, this is good. Oh, crap. I got to reset my game. Can I step out for a second?
Golf Story.
Does anybody have a charger? Oh, my God. But anyways, I say we get into it, man. Top 5.
Let's
you ready?
It.
I didn't share my top 5 with you.
I didn't share my top 5 with you.
No, you didn't. So this is going to be a surprise to us.
Yeah.
All right. You want to go first? Number 5?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and go first.
All right.
Number 5.
Number 5.
Metroid Dread. Metroid Dread did make my top 5. Maybe some of it has to do with the fact that it's the only Metroid game I've ever 2D Metroid game that I've ever played and beaten.
Mm-hmm.
What can I say? The controls are just really tight and intuitive. The gameplay is just super fun to me. I didn't get lost too much in that game.
Mm-hmm.
The sense of accomplishment, especially when you get through like an Emmy zone and you're able to get the power up to defeat the Emmy. Great. Metroid Dread, number 5.
That's a terrible choice, and it's a terrible game. And you're terrible for no, I'm just kidding. Number 5 for me, Metroid Dread. No, I'm just Metroid's not on this list. Let's be real. But no, I kid. Don't come at me, guys. Metroid's great. I'm sure I'll buy it. Anyways, for me, number 5, Resident Evil Village.
Okay.
Loved it. It was one of the few games in recent memory that not only did I beat, but I went back and beat again and again and again, just going for the platinum and different trophies. I don't know if I ever got the platinum on that because there's some very specific trophies, like have exactly $77,421 in your inventory at one time. I'm like, how do you... What? That's math. Get out of here.
Yeah.
So, but for the most part, like beating the game under 2 hours or beating it with only a knife, silly shit like that, I had so much fun doing that. And the game took on so many different flavors from when I first played through it to my last playthrough, and really took me on a roller coaster. And I really love the design of the game, how the chapters are succinctly divided under the different bosses, and how different gameplay-wise and theming that the different sections of the game were. Yeah, the castle with Lady Dimitrescu. Yeah, the fish guy.
Merfish.
Yeah, the Merfish guy. Yeah, Magneto.
Right.
Yeah, the doll lady. It's been a while, so I don't remember any of their names. Moreau, I think, was the fish guy's name. But anyways,
got the Kiwi baby.
It was great. It was great. I had a great time with it. So highly recommend it. I loved it even more than Resident Evil 7, more than 6. I think it's my favorite Resident Evil game since 4, and it took a lot of cues from 4.
Okay. Cool. All right. Number 4 for me is going to be Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. I had been fiending for a new Ratchet & Clank game ever since the 2016 one. And even before then, because the 2016 one, while good, it still was kind of a retread of the original game.
Mm-hmm.
But I was really into the storyline that the Future series on PS3 brought forth. And Rift Apart just took it to another level with the multiverse, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, this was a year for multiverses. For multiverses and time loops.
Yeah, it's hot right now.
That is crazy.
Yep.
But first of all, it looks beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
It's easily one of the top 3 best looking games on the PS5 right now. The fur looks amazing on Ratchet and Rivet. Mm-hmm. The sheen on Clank and I forget the other robot's name. But besides the graphics, the gameplay is that classic Ratchet and Clank.
Don't die, Derek. You can make it, buddy. I know. I hear you over there wheezing, too.
Yeah, well.
It's going to be okay, buddy.
It's that classic Ratchet and Clank gameplay that we all know and love from the PS2 all the way on to the glorious PS5. And they just... if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's amazing. It tells a pretty emotional story for a Ratchet and Clank game.
Yeah. Set out to be more emotional than it actually ended up being, but that's okay.
Yeah, they could have done more with it, but what they did do with it, I wasn't mad at, and I can't wait for the next one. Ratchet and Clank number 4. What about you?
Number 4 for me would have to be Persona 5 Strikers.
Oh,
but you never
I
saw
didn't
it
see it coming.
That
I
joke will
didn't
never
see
get
it.
old, and by never
Nope.
I mean it's very
Very old.
It's very old. Yes. Anyways, Persona 5 Strikers was such a surprise to me, and originally not in the greatest way, but I'm kind of glad it turned out this way because it really opened up the potential for this style of gameplay. We all thought, okay, it's going to be another Warriors slash Muso game because it's made by those people. And I mean, I guess you could say at its core it is, but it's so much more than that. It is a direct sequel to Persona 5. It
Yep.
carries on the spirit, the style, and the characters of those games. The way that they incorporated the Muso Warriors combat into the spirit of the turn-based combat from the Persona series, including the difficulty,
Yeah.
because you could get your ass handed to you really quickly if you weren't paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
But you could also consistently kick a lot of ass too if you were. So there was this balance, you know what I mean? And it wasn't like as nail biting as, say, I don't know, Shin Megami Tensei 5.
Bruh.
But I mean, it gave me more Persona 5, and that is not a bad thing. Considering I played the Royal recently and how fun that was, and just to go back to that game again, and then right after that I get to play, a sequel to that. Good stuff. So can't recommend it enough for action fans. My disappointment really came from the fact that I would have been okay with a dumbed down version of Persona, just a Muso game. But what I got was, I was looking for potato chips. I got a high class dessert. I think we talked about this before.
Yeah.
So once I realized what I had in front of me, I started eating it a little slower, and I really enjoyed it. So
Yeah. Okay.
that's number 4 for me.
All right. Number 3. Number 3 for me is going to be It Takes Two. What can we say about this game that hasn't already been said? It won Game of the Year for good reason. The gameplay is just so extremely varied and fun and never gets old. Like the most fun I've had playing a co-op game with someone probably ever.
Yeah.
Like
I would agree.
It's that fun.
Mm.
It's that intuitive, and the story isn't really all that, but it's just enough for you to get involved and enjoy that gameplay. And I don't know, that guy is just really good, and the studio is just really good at making co-op experiences. And It Takes Two deserves all the praise that it's been getting. That's my number 3.
Okay. All right. Number 3 for me, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Hey, we're back at it again. I mean, I'll mirror all the things that you said. Plus, I mean, obviously it's a first party Sony title, so they're going to take advantage of all the bells and whistles of this generation.
Mm-hmm.
So with the SSD, they had the quick loading in between environments, which they really took advantage of in that game. The haptic feedback on the controller, one of the best experiences I've had with that controller, other than maybe some of my honorable mentions this year. It was just a solid Ratchet and Clank style game. That game where you go around and shoot wacky weapons and just have fun. It's a video game. What more is there to say? Loved it.
All right. Number 2 for me.
Number 2
is gonna be Tales of Arise Chicken.
Arise Chicken.
Oh my god. The most JRPG I have ever played. That's not true, but it's a very JRPG.
It is.
I've been playing Tales since Symphonia on the GameCube,
Mm.
which I kind of went back and played after playing Zilly on PS3. But I just gotta say, Tales of Arise did everything right for me. Even like even though the story was kind of like the characters made up for it for me, and the combat definitely. Oh my god,
Combat's good in that game.
yeah, it just completely reinvigorated the franchise for me because I was getting kind of stale on it. Like I was always gonna keep buying Tales games and playing them, but I was gonna do it begrudgingly, and I wasn't gonna do it at full price. But with Tales of Arise, they got me back in there at that full price. It looks beautiful. The music is amazing. Oh my god, the song that plays at the end. My tears. I've taken some of these songs from the soundtrack and I listened to them like the actual soundtrack, the whole song in the car. And I'm like singing along with it in Japanese. I'm like, Soyaku, Daideru,
Oh, we gotta add that to our Player 2 is Near the Pod playlist on Spotify, the one for
oh,
RPGs.
yeah, for sure.
We should put some songs on there if they have it on Spotify. We'll see about that.
Great. Yeah, but Tales of Arise, number 2.
I agree with you. I mean, everything you said, I agree with. I loved Tales of Arise, and it got me to finish a Tales game, which I don't think I've ever done. So, sweet. Impressive. Loved it.
I thought you were going to say it was your number 2. I was like, what?
Nope, not my number 2. My number two for me is Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay.
Guardians of the Galaxy, the game. It was wonderful from start to finish. Yeah. I never wanted to put it down, and I had a lot of fun with it. I feel like saying anything more than what we've already said on our recent spoiler cast, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But for those who didn't listen because they haven't finished the game yet or they're on the fence about playing it, play it. Just play it. It's great. It's probably one of the best video game comic book experiences I've had maybe since Marvel's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And I think that just like the level of understanding of Spider-Man that Insomniac had, and I'm really looking forward to their interpretation of Wolverine, Eidos Montreal really got Guardians of the Galaxy. And the fact that they got writers from people who actually wrote in the comics, you know, I mean, like
who'd have thunk?
They put together, yeah, right. They put together a team that really understood these characters, and they stuck with a singular theme throughout and just really nailed it. And it was very heartfelt and fun and cohesive. And again, I mean, it's rare that I'll play through a game lately, I think, just because of the fatigue and everything else I got going on in my life, where I just I don't want to put it down. And that's what it was like to play Guardians. So that is my number 2. Number 1.
All right, number 1 for me is going to be Guardians of the Galaxy.
Hey.
You knew it was coming. You knew it was going to be on the list.
You knew it.
Oh my God. Everything that you said, plus anytime a game that can make me cry multiple times, like that's always going to be high up on the list. That's why The Last of Us Part 1 was just so impactful to me. Multiple times in that game, there were characters that I cared about that went through some shit, and tears flowed. And this game had that for me. It had that for me with Drax. It had that with me for Gamora. Had me with that for Rocket. Had me with that. Literally, the only character that I didn't cry for was fucking Groot. Because, I mean, Groot. What do I do? Oh, Groot. Oh.
You know, that whole backstory about all the little animals that took care of them and how he's living on his planet, like that, you know, that section of the game. That was cool to hear about. But yeah, it's hard to get emotional for a tree that only says, I am Groot.
Exactly. But the only thing that they could do better for me is just to update the gameplay just slightly.
Yeah,
just slightly. Even if you let me switch between the Guardians, oh my God. It's already 8, 9 out of 10 for me.
Yeah.
If I could switch between the Guardians, it'd be 10. Easy.
Amazing.
Or have it be co-op.
Yeah. I think if they were to do like a Suicide Squad approach, you know, where you have like everybody controlling one of the Guardians, that'd be an interesting experience. But I like that they made it a single player experience, and even though you only control the movement of one character, I did feel a lot more in control of the other characters than I expected going in. So they did a really good job.
Yeah, it allowed you to stay focused on the story.
Yep.
And around like just the group as a group and not just individual characters you can play as. But yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy, man. Yep. Great game. Play it.
All right. Number 1 for me, if you haven't already guessed, It Takes Two.
It takes two, baby. Oh.
I was thinking about like what I really enjoy about games and what really draws me to some of the favorite games I've ever like played. And I like the social aspect of gaming. I like being able to go through an adventure. I love co-op. I love it when gameplay is constantly switched up in innovative and creative ways. Yeah. I love, you know, when you throw in a lot of mini games. And It Takes Two had everything. It had weird voodoo dolls, and it had, you know, paddle boat mini games and dart throwing mini games and chess and racing and racist ass books. Speaking of which, so I remember I think it was in one of the recent episodes of Gamer Friends did. It was one of their spoiler casts. There was a little bit of shade thrown at It Takes Two.
Yeah.
And I reached out to Big Nakruma on Discord, and I was like, what's up, man? And he goes, that racist ass book. And then I stopped for a second, and I thought, and I was like, oh my God, when you and I are playing the game, that's like literally what we say. We're like, this book is racist as fuck.
Yeah.
And then we just kept playing. And I mean, the book is it's like a Latin lover caricature, right?
Yeah.
That's basically what he is. He's a Latin book of love. And he really hams it up. And that could be enough to put some off. And I totally get it. If that's where you want to draw the line, we all have a line to draw somewhere. I totally get it. My wife's been rewatching Modern Family. Holy crap. They are terrible to Gloria. Like, the whole show is just a series of the family lying to each other and trying to get out of it. And there's racism and stuff sprinkled throughout. And again, there's a good naturedness to it. And some of the writing is really funny. And I don't know. I still watch Modern Family and laugh, and I still played It Takes Two, and I had a great time, despite how racist and terrible. You remember when the book showed up, and we're like, "Fuck you, book, go away."
Yeah,
because whenever he showed up, it was always like to move the goalpost further or to screw us up in some way.
Exactly.
But what I really like about It Takes Two, and I hope that this doesn't put anybody off who's not enjoying it until they get a chance to finish it, is it kind of stuck the landing, and all the bullshit that racist ass book was putting us through did eventually come around to some growth for the characters, and they fell back in love. And to me, it didn't seem arbitrary or forced. It seemed genuine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I feel like it was kind of ambiguous as to whether or not.
Or they were really going to get back together. Yeah, I feel like whether they stayed together or they split, they seem to be more confident in themselves and less like angry about it. You know what I mean? There seems to be more love between them within their family union. And I mean, not everything has to wrap up where necessarily the bad ending is divorce and the good ending is staying together. Sometimes the bad ending is just being nasty to each other and either staying together or splitting up, but having that contention. And the good ending is treating each other like human beings and understanding where each other's coming from, regardless if you decide to stay together or not, you know?
Yeah.
So,
good stuff.
Yeah. To me, just the moment-to-moment gameplay. Talk about not wanting to put a game down. We played the game in a couple of sessions because, again, we both have, lives that intersect at different points where we, have to go off and do other stuff. We're family men. But the fact that we kept trying to come back together, and you notoriously don't want to play online with anybody.
Oh, yeah, I hate that shit.
But it brought us together, and we got to share that moment this year, and I had a lot of fun with it. So for me, that's a number one top gaming experience for 2021.
Awesome, man.
All right.